much. So I thought, as we were first up, what would be a great topic would be maybe to do a level set on AI to really understand, who's getting value, why they're getting value, and what needs to be done in order to get value. And there was some great new McKinsey research on that topic. So I thought, with this session, we're going to really think about how to really use AI and the practical realities of it. So I'm delighted to have two fantastic panelists, Duarte and Imanaka-san. Maybe you can introduce yourself and your company.
I'm Duarte. I'm a partner from McKinsey. Been leading McKinsey work in IT and technology in TMT. Obviously, AI is one of the biggest topics in the moment. We've been expanding, doing a lot of work here, also leveraging a company we have called Quantum Black. So today we have more than 5,000 people working in AI globally. And obviously Telecom is a big part of the work we do.
Imanaka-san.
Hi, everyone. NTT is one of the telco based in Japan. And I just wanted to share about our midterm strategy for NTT. So we have three pillars. One is to create new value and accelerate global sustainability society. Second one is to upgrade the customer experience. And the third one is to improve the employee experience. So we do believe that AI will kind of help us achieve those two goals of upgrading the customer experience and improving the employee experience. Myself belongs to a company called NTT Comware, which is the IT service company within NTT Group, which is serving the telco operating companies for NTT from the IT standpoint. And also, I am a director of the Global Business Office, which is responsible for introducing our solutions to the global market. And myself is exploring how we could make better use of the marketplace to somehow connect the ecosystem digitally with our partners. So thank you.
Very good. Now we should have one slide, I think for one slide to help signpost our conversation here. And I'm going to ask Duarte maybe to sort of explain the new research coming from McKinsey.
Well, I think the research came because everybody talks about AI. And I think the question is, everybody's asking how to really scale AI. So how to move from this honeymoon phase. I think in reality, you can always question if it's a glass half full or half empty. I can still see it a bit half empty. In reality, only 10% of the organizations are being able to really scale AI, but still with very low results. So often not more than the organizations that take it more seriously, they're only seeing like 15% EBITDA growth, not 5 times or 4 times the impacts that we can see everywhere. And also, it's also interesting to notice that for every project you do on AI, only 10% goes into production. In Gen AI is even half of it, 5%. So yeah, still in early stages. I think there's still a lot of experimentation, and we try to understand what is driving this. I think there are 7 things that are in the screen. First, I think many organizations are still taking a very much pilot approach. They're not thinking in how to transform. And so they need to basically start thinking differently. The second is that it's not about basically about the pieces. It's you need to create an orchestration that brings people, the data component, orchestration, the business, the change management all together. And often these things are very siloed, with very small teams taking this and not working as a whole, as a team. You also need to start thinking about cost. A lot of the issues that many organizations, when they start doing a lot of these pilots, is that the sum of the pilots, the cost becomes too expensive. And not just because of the modeling. Modeling is a small part of the cost. The cost of doing the change management, the adoption is brutal. So if you don't take something that is structural, the cost of deploying AI in an organization can be quite substantial. I think there is also a topic of really a lot of technologies. You need to make your choices. You cannot just take everything. You need to do basically pick your battles. You need to basically ensure you have the organization to adopt. Most of the problems on AI is adoption. So we built a lot of cool solutions, but then the front line, the business areas, the networks, the operations, they don't take it. They don't believe it. They question everything. So the adoption is something really important. We need to get the data right. Data quality is a topic. Yeah, you can even use AI to fix data, but you need to get that done. And then it's the reuse of it. So, and not try to reinvent the wheel every time we do something. That is also often happening. So I think these are all things we found that need to be fixed to really be able to scale the AI. It's not just one, it's all together.
I think one of the things which struck me about the research was that only 15% of companies are delivering real value to the bottom line, to EBIT. Why do you think, I mean, you can either see that as, it's top of the hype curve, therefore 15% is really, really good, or you can say, actually, a lot of the machine learning, this is a sort of, there's a segue into AI from lots of earlier, examples. So maybe say 50% is very, very low. Why do you think, only 15%?
I think it's because of this experimentation logic. I think people are just doing a lot of pilots, a lot of experimentations, and so nothing is really big enough to really transform an area in an organization. Even some of use cases are quite mature, like call centers. Whenever we do this in call centers, we do it in one call center. It's first a pilot for some clients, but then it never scales. It never scales to the full call center, neither to all the call centers you have in an organization. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I think it's people start questioning, what about this, what about that, here are the risks, and then they start creating all the types of things to avoid that. So you need to think at scale, either with a use case that you can take it everywhere, call centers, workforce optimization, many things you can basically do on marketing and sales, but not just small pilots, or you take a domain, an area like, for instance, sales, B2B sales, and let's transform B2B sales with AI, but doing everything, not just basically a couple of things here and there. And I think this is what is taking this result.
So maybe to help land the concept, I mean, what would you see as some of the big use cases that telcos should focus on? What are the areas? Now, clearly, every telco's got its own priorities in terms of what's first, but maybe what are the big use cases?
Usually the use cases that the telco should pick is where you're going to have the less barriers of adoption by the business areas. And I think that probably can change from organization to organization. But you should try to pick the ones where you have some business areas. Business areas can be not just the commercial or operations, can also be, of course, in network engineering, can be HR, legal, so whatever is the areas that are trying to adopt and that are willing to take it. That, for me, it's the biggest thing. Often, marketing and sales is an area that people have been quite prompt to adopt, also because they are a bit less engineers. To be very honest, engineers are not the biggest adopters of AI because they always question everything. They want to understand the models. They want to understand everything. They will be able. I'm trying to implement some of these things in network engineering. I can tell you, it's really a nightmare.
Yeah.
People will question everything they're doing.
Yeah.
Marketing and sales people are typically more open.
Yeah.
To this. It's an area, but not because the impact is more or less. It's because the adoption is higher. Mm-hmm. Other areas could be call centers, but in fact, I think we all heard about call centers. We all questioned that call centers will disappear, but they are still there with hundreds and thousands of people.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that probably could be tackled, but is not happening.
Imanaka-san, do you want to comment?
Well, I do echo with that comment. And from the McKinsey article, I think the ease of adoption and also the business readiness is the two major points that we need to take in mind to find the right focus for these AI initiatives. Because like for us as NTT Comware, as the IT services company, we're also trying to adopt AI in the code generation to improve the efficiency in the system development. So we need to find, of course there is a possibility that we could implement AI on various processes, but we need to find the right target to get the low-hanging fruit.
Very good. Yes. So then the next area, maybe we can move on, is really around to really scale AI. So not the pilot, not the experiment, to really scale it. It's investing in the integration and automation of the end-to-end, all the pieces. That's the number 2 here. And it's really around thinking about how to embed testing and everything else into that, so the validation. So components here may be sort of, vector models, databases, libraries, applications. There's a whole supply chain of different things there with all the testing, giving you new data, adding components, add exponential amounts of complexity to all that. So the real heavy lifting is in the data, and it's in the end-to-end and automation and testing of that value chain. Does NTT have sort of lessons learned about how to do this?
So I would say that NTT is still in the midst of the journey itself. We haven't really completed the full transformation, but we do agree that end-to-end operations are very important. And also, even currently within NTT, we have many systems in silos. And one system for certain processes, of course, for another system for other offerings. So even within the same processes, if we are serving a different, offering, we're just using the different systems. So all these things in silos are the ones who's preventing all these, data unification or the data distributions and stuff. So what we have done is that we're currently trying to standardize and consolidate the systems using ODA because this is TM Forum. We're trying to make good use of ODA, and we have recently awarded the running on ODA status. So that's what we are doing right now. First, as a initial step to make all the things.
So clearly, with ODA, APIs are a key component in that value chain. Do you want to comment on the importance of APIs?
Yes. So of course, we all know that single system or single platform could not solve the entire processes or the operations. So will be, we still need to live with such multiple systems being integrated as a single, platform. So in that concept, integrating digitally through API and orchestrating all those processes centrally is a very important thing that we need to do. And now in NTT, we're trying to kind of move towards that direction to make that work.
Very good. Duarte, whether you want to comment?
No, I think this is fully building this AI factory, right? That starts basically the data pipelines where you get the data. You need to have all the MLOps. You need to basically ensure that you basically not enable just all the testing, all the monitoring, and then the APIs to do the orchestration. But APIs, I think it's also very important to understand that it's not basically a one-way API just to consume the data from the prompts. You also need to get feedback from the prompts. So and this is also a complication because a lot of these models, they need to learn. So whenever you're generating prompts, you need to ask the users, is this prompt good or bad? And if it's bad, they need to provide the feedback. And the feedback needs to go back into the model for the model to start improving and to learn. So just assembling this factory with all these different pieces is quite important. It's not just about creating a repository of models, internal ones or external with the different co-pilots you may want to develop. It's basically building this end-to-end component that then can basically be used at scale. And I think often what we see is that many of things exist partially and they are broken. And basically it takes then a long time to really then bring a lot of these things, new use cases faster.
Very good. Maybe I guess there's the fifth one, the fifth truth. And again, going back to this idea of 15%, only 15% of companies are really getting value here. And also picking up the point you made about engineers challenging things. And this idea of really two ideas. First of all, is it being run too much as a technology program with not enough business driven? And also, is it too tactical and not strategic enough? And now, of all the things around digital transformation, everything else, we've learned about how it needs to be more business driven, and the business needs to drive the priorities and everything else. Why do you think we're still seeing that kind of finding?
I think we are not investing enough. So we did a part of research. We came up with a bit of a statement that was extreme. People question and we said, listen, cannot be possible. But if you want to scale, and we see it, organizations that are launching AI at scale in some areas, for each dollar spent on building the models, you spend $3 in change.
That's wow, that's a lot, yeah.
How many of you are spending $1 versus 3? So often you spend 1 and then you spend not even $0.50 to do the change. And this change is about changing the applications to basically incorporate the prompts into the front ends of the users, of basically generating prompts in the back as a button for people to first facilitate adoption. It's the trainings you need to give to the people. It's often basically the work you need to do to manage a lot of the risks to make sure that things are working properly. So really thinking ahead about this change is critical. Often what we found is that many of these programs, they start from some AI teams they come up with good ideas, they can come to the business. Business find it's very cool, but nobody thinks about it. How are we going to now generate the adoption and basically fund the project with all these different pieces? And then you get a nice model, but then this model is used only by 2% of the organization on this area that is supposed to work. It never scales. It's nice. It's a nice project, but it's not more than that.
So as time's up, I'm just going to ask maybe, like I said, just to quickly comment on that, because the business input is not just picking the use case, it's also reviewing the results, the test conclusions and everything else. Maybe you want to comment on that?
Well, I firmly believe that business is the one who needs to own the outcome of using AI. So there needs to be more involvement from business side to this project. And I do believe that it's still, kind of low at this moment.
Very good. So we're going to have some Q&A now. I know, Camille, you're going to get questions.
Thank you very much for this insight. How can we prepare our system landscape for scaling on AI? I mean, a lot of companies, they have old, legacy system landscapes, and building something on top as a layer, would be possible. Leveraging TMF APIs, yes. Going to the ODA composable, but actually, it's a lot of cost if you want to really modernize. So what would be the best solution to prepare those old system landscape to leverage all AI capabilities?
No.
Okay, let me start off. From my perspective, I believe the master data management is the key to achieve all these objectives, because, if the data or the master data and the transactional data associated with those data is all diverse or it's all in silos, we won't get the best outcome out from these new technologies. So, our self-entity is still kind of challenging to achieve these goals, but MDM for me is one of the key important drivers to achieve this goal.
I think just one of the different ways of lens to look at that through is that the choice you've got between, do you build capabilities and build it and they will come, or do you build for each use case? And I don't know, Duarte, whether you want to comment on that.
I think there are two types of platforms. One is basically this AI factory component. So getting the data right, MLOps, all the orchestration, all APIs. So it's basically the data component of it. But that's just one side. If you want adoption, you also basically need to change the legacy systems that are going to be able to consume the data. And I think, yes, I fully agree. This is where a lot of the challenges are. If you are using a very old application that does not have basically an ability to consume data from APIs or to integrate this into your own system, it becomes a bit much more complex. So I think there often what we see is that trying to bundle this AI into something bigger is probably then a good excuse to replace or to refactor part of these applications and to say, listen, it's the time for us now, for instance, not to change the full applications, but maybe we need to change the front end of this application because we need to have a decoupled front end to make sure that we can not just get the data from this backend, but also we can get the data from the AI and from other things. Other times, it's basically you need to create some components like middleware components where you can basically be able to kind of ingest the data into this middleware and try to bring it into the front end. This can be more costly. But I think this is part of the challenge when you think about transforming. It's not just about building the factory, but it's also you're going to need to change some of legacy systems. But I fully agree that it's a barrier that you need to overcome. But what we've seen is that many organizations, what they end up doing is they start using this also as a forcing device to make some decisions that are there for a long time. It's not now that we are trying to decouple some things, but often we've been delaying, and now we say it's no time to delay. We really need to kind of make the change now.
And then with that change, trying to get reuse of reusable components, which names those capabilities.